Hello, today we're going over section 5.1, radical functions and radical expressions. In this video, we'll talk about a couple of definitions and we'll do problem number 4 and number 5. The first definition we want to consider is anytime you have a real number a, then the square root of a squared is the absolute value of a. So the squared and the square root undo each other and you get the absolute value of a. Let's look at that in practice number 4. What is the square root of 15 squared? The absolute value of 15, which is just 15. What's the square root of negative 12 squared? So kind of to think about this, you would square it first, which makes it positive, and then you take the square root. So you get the absolute value of negative 12, which is 12. What's the square root of y squared? Y. What's the square root of 36? Y squared. So you could think about that as 6 squared, y squared. And then you'll have 6y. All right, let's look at another definition. What if I have different roots, not just the square root? So we talked about this previously. If n is even, then you get the absolute value, right? So you're squaring it fourth, sixth, eighth. Anytime you're raising it to that even power, then you have pairs of negatives. What if I had negative 3 squared? That's 9. Negative 3 to the fourth, you have negative 3 times negative 3, and then another pair, negative 3 times negative 3. So every time you'll have pairs. And so when you get out a, it will be the absolute value. But what if I don't have perfect pairs? What if I have an odd number of groupings? So anytime your index is odd. So what's the cube root of negative 8? Well, negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Two of them will multiply to be positive, and then you'll be left with one negative. So anytime n is odd, then you just get a, whether it's positive or negative. All right, let's practice that in number 5. We notice that we have an even index, and so we're going to take the absolute value. Why is that? Because we have 4 negative 4s multiplied together, and when you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. So anytime you have this even, you're taking the absolute value. So the answer to A is 4. Let's look at B. Now we have an odd index, and so we would need 3 times 3 times 3. Notice 1 is going to be left out. So we have this pair that's positive, but then we just have 1 left out, which would make this negative. So the answer here is negative 3. Now let's look at letter C. Remember, a way to think about this is that you're dividing the exponents. 8 divided by 4. Is that divisible? Yes. So what's 8 divided by 4? 2. And you get m squared. And look at D. What is the square root of anything squared? They just undo each other. You could still think 2 divided by 2 is 1. So you're just left with x plus 2. I hope that helps. We'll see you next time.